Good evening, our esteemed participants and viewers of this webinar. To begin with, wishing you, your family, and all your near and dear ones a very hearty, prosperous, healthy 2024. I'm confident 2024 would have ushered in new beginnings with wonderful positive vibrations to all of you. As always, being Wednesday today, 5 p.m. is the webinar time for the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting. In the institute today, to my right, the man who is always right, Charanjot Singh Nandaji, the Honorable Vice Chairman of the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting, and our mentor in this particular board. To my left is Ms. Aarti, who is the secretary to this board, and we have Gyan, who is the officer in this board, and also all our viewers there. And on the screens, you can see CA Sanjay Diodharji, a very learned speaker of this day, and Seema ji, who is the moderator of this particular program today. Ladies and gentlemen, in this 2024, to begin with, we have this topic called Practical Aspects of Information Technology Tools and Internal Audit. As the world ushers in a new era, as we get into new things, we find that information technology is a part of our life. We cannot leave it behind, even if we wantedly want to do so also. In every aspect, in every sphere of our life, whether it is work or personal, information technology has a key role to play. Today, we have CA Sanjay Diodhar, a very eminent chartered accountant. I was just going through his profile. A person who has an immense background on this subject is here with us today. Sanjay ji, welcome once again to this platform of the ICAI and specifically on the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting. And to Seema, the young chartered accountant, young brilliant face you see there. She is moderating the session today. Welcome to you, Seema madam. Welcome to this program. And we sincerely wish you luck that one day you should be sitting in the seat of Sanjay Diodharji. That is our desire. Friends, without wasting much time, may I now request our mentor, Charanjot Singh Nandaji, to please address us.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Chairman of the Board, C. Rajendra Kumar P., who hails from Madras and who is well known as GST man among the entire country. Shri C.A. Sanjay M. Deodhar, who is the Audit Director of Asia and Asia Pacific region, commence. Madam Seema, who is the moderator of the day, Madam Aarti, Mr. Gyan, Mr. Arun, and all members have come here to go home more enlightened. Ladies and gentlemen, we are truly honored to be amongst you all in this program. Today is a hectic day. We have the council going on, but still the chairman directed that we have to be here and deliver our opening remarks.
Yes.
The topic is of great use, IT tools and internal audit. I remember the days when internal audit had a lot of say. And now it is one of the indispensable tools which the management has to take informed decisions. As an internal auditor, you report to the audit committee or to the board as the case may be. But what you deliver is ultimately the basis of the most important decisions they take pertaining to the products, pertaining to the employees, and more importantly, to the competitive industries. Ladies and gentlemen, IT is playing a very great role. Use of IT gives us three major assurances. Number one, with IT, we say goodbye to the simple era. The entire database is analyzed. Number two, computers don't have wives. The work is finished on time. And number three, and more importantly, the results, the output is error-free. So now internal audit, the process of adding value to the management, it is essentially a management function where you support the management, see that the processes are totally overhauled, there is no leakage, no loophole. Because a well-settled principle is that where control environment becomes weak, that is the breeding ground for frauds. So in order to work as per the directives of the board, internal audit is essential. And with shaking hands with technology, with IT tools, things become even more simpler and reporting becomes so synchronized that whatever area you want to report, daily basis, hourly basis, you can have that. I will not speak much because we have Mr. Sanjay Jodhar who has a deep exposure. He has led his life in internal audit, a man who is well respected in the internal audit circles, a man who understands the internal audit and more importantly, understands how various reports could add value to the initiatives of internal audit. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the Honorable Chairman for inviting me, and I'm thankful to Mr. Deodhar, Madam Seema, who have agreed to kindly come and have discussions with membership at large. So, I give the last back to the Honorable Chairman, Mr. Rajendra Kumar P, and wishing this webinar great success in the hours to come. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, our Honorable Vice Chairman Nandaji. In your usual imitable style, you have started this particular year with a bang, and you have really laid the foundation for us for the future forward. Thank you so much. We have here the moderator Seema, a young chartered accountant. Seema ji, welcome to the ICA platform, and I request you to please begin this particular session. You may introduce the speaker and also give a brief remarks and hand over the session to the speaker going forward. Over to you, madam.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So good evening, everyone. I am Seema Sehrawat, the moderator for today's session, and we are delighted to welcome you all to this insightful webinar organized by the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting of the ICAI. It is my distinct pleasure to be to serve as the moderator for today's session on practical aspects of IT tools and internal audit, a topic of paramount importance in the dynamic landscape of internal audit practices meticulously curated by the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting of the ICAI. In a short while, we will commence this webinar, and before we delve into the presentations and discussions, I would like to brief a brief overview of the topic practical aspects of IT tools and internal audits. So through this session, we aim to explore the practical applications of the IT tools in the realm of internal audit, addressing key considerations and insights for our distinguished audience. Stay tuned for an enriching session ahead. Now, I would like to introduce our eminent speaker, C.S. Sanjay M. Devdhar sir. He is a fellow member of the ICAI with a specialization in the internal audit, currently serving as the audit director for Cummins in India and Asia Pacific. He recently took charge, leveraging his expertise to lead internal audit functions for Cummins companies with a global revenue exceeding 24 billion USD. Previously, as Chief Internal Auditor at Thermex Limited from 2009 to 2020, he spearheaded the internal audit function for a globally positioned engineering company with a turnover exceeding 1 billion USD. His notable achievements are that he established a comprehensive risk control framework across business processes and auditable entities. He implemented audit methodology aligning with key requirements of IISA standards and pioneered the use of audit analytics for key business processes through Python programming and Microsoft Power BI. And with a robust foundation at BK Khare and Company, where he served as a partner from 2000, Sanjay sir brings a wealth of experience from his roles as a senior audit manager and a partner. His extensive involvement in internal audit and statutory audit assignments of various unlisted and listed entities reflects his commitment and expertise in the field. Now, I would like to invite our eminent speaker, C.A. Sanjay Devdhar sir, to have this virtual stage to delve into the intricate realm of practical aspects of IT tools and internal audit. And I'm confident that his insights will not only be enlightening, but also make this session a great and fruitful learning experience for all of us. Thank you very much. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar. First, I would like to thank the Board of Internal Audit and Management of ICAI to give me this opportunity to come here and share my thoughts. It is an honor indeed. I think I'll be completing the graduation as a chartered accountant on 14th of January. 15 years, I passed out in 1999, on 14 January 1999. And I feel the amount that the institute has given to me in terms of the quality of my life, enrich experiences, these kind of sessions help me to give back to the institute as well. Whatever I have learned in the past 20-25 years as a professional. Honestly, I look at these sessions, as a platform where we share our experiences to enrich and enhance our common understanding of any particular subject. As I understand, learning is never stops. That is the mantra of any chartered accountant professionals. And particularly, the Q&A sessions of each of the after each of the sessions which gets completed are very exciting. And I'm actually very much looking forward to that particular section. I will just give me a minute. I will share my screen now. Now, the topic for this session is actually based on some true events which happened a couple of months back. Uh, I happened to meet a friend during my Diwali holidays, and we were having conversations on professional as well as personal topics. And during our conversations, particularly on the professional side, he is an excellent internal auditor, by the way, and has got a wide range of experience and is in practicing chartered accountant. But he was quite disturbed because he had recently come out of the multiple audit committee meeting sessions that he had for the 6 monthly results and so on and so forth. And where he used to, he will do the presentations of his internal audit reports and so on and so forth. And so I was like, what happened? Why are you so disturbed? Why are you so perturbed? So it indicated to me that wherever he goes and meets the clients, the expectations are increasing and they are really sky high. In most of the audit committee sessions that he attends, one of the key aspects or topics which is discussed or a question which is thrown to him is that how much of IT tools you are leveraging for your internal audit work? Why is it that you are not able to give us assurance on 100% of the transactions? Um, why don't you give us Amazon kind of experience in terms of the presentations and feel, etc., and so on and so forth? And I could really sense that he was quite uh, disturbed in that sense, right? So I tried to console him. I said, listen, we are all chartered accountants, both of us. Why don't we put our heads together and try to figure it out as to what do we do? How do you respond to this particular situation? So he readily agreed, and we sat down and then we said, all right, where do you start? So we started with the concept of problem solving. Now, when you think about the concept of problem solving, essentially you try to understand the problem through a set of questions. Okay. So we said, let us frame the problem in a form of questions. And we thought about it and we came up with these three questions. Now, as you could see, when we came up with these three questions, which means that why does the internal auditor require IT tools, which is one of the key expectations he comes across whenever he attends any audit committees. Another question we thought of is why should an internal audit try to get hands-on knowledge about IT tools? And most importantly, if all this is true, where do we start? Or where do I start? That's how we thought about this particular problem in the form of questions. Then told him that, okay, let us try to figure it out. Let us try to find answers to each of these questions by putting our minds together. So we gave it a thought to the first question as to why does an internal audit require IT tools? So he started with saying that he really does not require IT tools. Okay. He said that, listen, whatever data I require, I ask the IT function to give me the data either in soft form or hard form, and my audit procedures are quite aligned with my audit objectives, and I'm able to deliver on them. Okay. So, really speaking, do I really require IT tools? Is it really necessary for me to learn IT tools and actually use those IT tools in my audit procedures? Then I had a counterpoint actually to his particular response to this question or his thought that, listen, what you say has certainly some element of truth, no doubt about it. But let us try to understand what are the factors in the external world which are influencing our audit work and is likely to impact the quality of our audit work and the reliability of audit work also. So we came up with 4 factors, which you can see on the screen. The first factor which we thought about is the business workflows and the processes are getting increasingly digitized, and that too at a very rapid pace. And it is not just limited to banking and financial institutions, but it is pretty much across all the sectors, including manufacturing. Even the audit evidences, which are very critical and important for us to evaluate and basis which we provide our audit opinion, they are increasingly available only in digital form rather than in paper form. So that was one of the factors or influencing factors that we thought about. Then we also realized that a significant amount of transactions are or may be processed by computer programs. For example, we have got RPAs, right? Essentially, the computer is doing the processing of those transactions. There is hardly any manual interventions in that. And also, we said that, listen, the velocity and the volume of the transaction for any organization is dramatically increasing. So, if all these factors are having a deep impact on the kind of our quality and reliability of internal audit work, then we thought, okay, what are the options which are available to us? All right. I mean, we need to have options to respond to this particular situation, right? So when we thought of the options, we came up with 3 options. One is audit around the computer, or the second option is audit through the computer, or the third option is both, right? So now when we looked at these options, we realized that out of these 3 options, really speaking, 2 options clearly indicate that IT tools are required. IT tool needs to be used in our internal audit, right? But my friend was not completely convinced about it. And he was wondering whether do I really have a choice? Should I be thinking about auditing around the computer? So, which brought to us to particularly the next question, right? As to why should internal audit try to get a hands-on knowledge of IT tools? Okay. So So he was not very convinced. Now it fell upon me to convince him that why should an internal auditor have a hands-on knowledge of IT tools? So we started again discussing around this issue of around the computer, through the computer, both. He kept arguing with me. Is it still a choice? Is it still an option? And so on and so forth. So in order to convince him, I said, listen, auditing around the computer is definitely a choice which can be exercised. But I'm not too sure how long this particular approach will be sustainable in the long run. So one needs to consider and prioritize auditing through the computer is how I was, really looking at. And I told him we really have no choice. Although he was trying to say that is it a matter of choice? I said, listen, it's no longer a matter of choice, right? Because at the end of the day, we have to meet or exceed the client's service expectations. We have to meet or exceed our CA professional expectations. And we have to also meet and exceed regulatory expectations. Everyone, I'm sure, is facing this kind of scenario today. And the question is it a matter of choice is not going to be really questioned. We have to understand the IT tools. We have to get a hands-on knowledge of the IT tools, and we have to actually leverage those IT tools as a part of our audit procedures. And if we don't do that, then it is quite obvious that it will have an adverse impact on these three key aspects of our professional life. I mean, so when we looked at this as we were discussing, he was fairly convinced now, saying that yes, he was getting my point. He said, yes, I understand why you are saying so, that we need to get our hands on IT tools. Why am I saying that we need to use IT tools? But then the next question that he had in his mind is, okay, all this is fine, Sanjay, but where do I start? Right? I mean, that's really the key question. This is all theory. This looks good, right? But so where do I start? So that was, of course, the third question that we had framed as to, where do we start? He looked at his cell phone and said, see, Sanjay, this is a computer, right? But how the hell I'm supposed to know what is going inside this cell phone, right? He said, listen, I have studied enough and worked very hard for my CA exams. I have invested a lot of years in understanding income tax, auditing standards, GST, and now you are saying that we need to do this as well, right? So I said, right, but he was fairly convinced about this, right? That we need to do this. So in order to calm him, I said, okay, listen, uh, let's try to find solution to this question as to where do I start in my journey of using IT tools in internal audit. So I said, one of the most important thing that we need to get clarity around is, where do I want to go, right? In a sense that this is the fundamental and the foundational question. If I don't understand, or if I don't have clarity around this particular question insofar as usage of IT tools is concerned for in case of internal audit, I will not be able to take the next step, right? I will not be able to take the next step and understand as to where I am at today. And then the third step is how to go about it. So the path is very clear. you need to understand where you want to go in the context of usage of IT tools in internal audit is concerned. But first, you also need to understand where do we stand today. Okay. And once you understand these two things, then you can define your own path to reach where you want to go. This sounded a little bit esoteric to him, saying that it's all right, where do I want to go, etc. But in practical terms, what are we talking about? What do you mean by where do I want to go in practical terms? So I said, okay, let's think about it and understand as to practically what do I mean. Now, in any internal audit, there are essentially three distinct phases. One is the planning phase of internal audit. The second is the fieldwork phase of internal audit. And the third is the reporting and communication phase of the audit. Now, when you think of considering usage of IT tools in internal audit, you need to understand very clearly as to whether you would like to use the IT tools in the planning phase, which essentially revolves around process mapping or risk assessment, or whether you want to utilize the IT tools in the fieldwork where there is control testing, sampling, etc., or in the reporting phase where we create reports and distribute the reports. So we need to clearly define ourselves to ourselves, saying that, okay, I want to use IT tools in, say, planning, or I want to use IT tools in, say, fieldwork, or I want to use IT tools in reporting. Now, the answer to this question is very important because the answer will help you to understand and tell you as to what is the type of IT tools that you will need, because IT tools that you might require for planning could be different than what you require for fieldwork, could be different from what you require for reporting. And also, when you talk of getting an IT tool, there are costs involved also. So the budget is also becomes a critical part. Also, the nature of the data and the complexity of the data requirement will varies greatly depending upon which activity you want the IT tool to be used. And also, the people capabilities are also equally important to understand. Because just by taking the IT tool, understanding the data requirement is not sufficient. You need to understand that people need to have capabilities to actually use the IT tools. You need to the people need to have capabilities to actually understand the data requirements. And lastly, but not the least, also the hardware requirements. So this is one of the most important questions that one has to ask oneself before you start the journey or before even you take the decision to use IT tools in any internal audit. Because in my experience, I can tell you, if you don't have clarity in terms of answer to this question, the initiative that you might adopt to use IT tools will be a massive failure. I can guarantee that. And I have myself experienced that. I am talking from my experience. So it is very important that this is what we need to first of all clearly define and identify. But this is not sufficient. Okay, this is not sufficient. Because even if we buy the IT tool, as I said, at the end of the day, we also need to understand that people should have capabilities to run those IT tools. Now, every person or every chartered accountant need not necessarily have the same level of aptitude or need not necessarily have the same level of passion of using IT tools in internal audit. Is it that nobody can use the IT, chartered accountants cannot use IT tools? No, that's not the point. But one needs to clearly understand that it is ultimately a journey. Okay. So to understand where you are today or where we are today in each individual's journey as an internal auditor, I thought about a maturity kind of model. Now, this model I adopted from capability maturity model, which is very widely used in IT sector. Okay. So, what is the first level in this particular maturity profile? Okay. The first level is what I call is an initial level, where the internal auditor uses hardly any IT tools, little, very little, or absolutely no IT tools. Okay. So we need to ask our question to ourselves. Where do I stand? Am I at an initial stage? Or am I at a repeatable stage where I do use IT tools such as CAT tools for my audit work, but not consistently or not very frequently. But if opportunity is presented, then I have the licenses for those CAT tools and I use it. So that's the next level, which indicates that the person who is actually using that IT tool has got a fair bit of understanding as to the underlying technology, the kind of data requirement which is there, and so on and so forth. But then there is the third level, where you can actually integrate the CAT tools as a part of your audit procedures. In a sense, whenever you do internal audit for any client, in each of the audit procedures, be it the planning phase, be it the fieldwork phase, or be it the presentation phase, some element of IT tool is being regularly used. Although those IT tools may not be integrated with the organizational databases, but I am quite proficient in the usage of IT tools and I use it across the entire life cycle of the audit. So that's how the second stage will be. These questions and understanding is very critical. If you don't understand this and we just buy some off-the-shelf CAT tools, it will be just an expenditure and we will not get any benefit out of it. So I think it's very important for all of us to clearly understand that these questions need to be answered. Then there is another level called as manage, where IT technology and the tools are integrated with the organizational databases. Entire life cycle of audits are done through using of CAT tools, but there is a limited use of the visualization tools like Power BI or Tableau, right? So this is the fourth stage, and the last maturity level is where statistical model or scripts, programming scripts are run on organizational data warehouses or data lakes, or high-level programming languages are preferred over CAT tools, and there is extensive usage of visualization tools to interpret the data. So during the conversation, we were having this conversation with my friend, and so we kind of said, okay, let me understand where do I stand, okay, and it will help me to understand my future path, okay. He was fairly convinced that okay, he had a fair good answer as to where he wants to go. He said, I want to use IT tools in say planning activity, essentially for risk assessment. I really don't want to use it at this point in time for fieldwork. And then I said, okay, let's focus on that. And then he said, but I hardly use IT tools, which indicated to me that he is at the initial stage. I said, no problem. That should not stop us. For different situations and for different scenarios, there are IT tools. It's not that you have to start with Power BI from day one. It's not that you have to start with Python programming for day one. Okay. It's a process at the end of the day. Okay. So I told him, don't lose heart, right? Or don't lose hope, so to say. So I said, let us take some imaginary case study. Okay. I mean, that's how we started talking about it in terms of how to actually use IT tools, which IT tool should I use? Okay. So as I told, as he was very clear that he wanted to use the IT tools in his planning area. And he said that, listen, Sanjay, I had recently got a client. Okay. His name is ABC Limited, and I'm supposed to give him an audit report around order to cash. And this particular client has got a turnover of around 5 crores and around sells around 5 products. And he wants to use IT tool for planning this particular audit of order to cash. So he said, I told him, then what's the first step that you take? He said, listen, as a first step, I generally do a risk assessment. I said, all right, then what are the metrics that you will use for a risk assessment? So we made a list of 6 matrices, right? And these are fairly easy metrics. Like he wanted to understand comparative sales and quantity for the past 3 years, comparative customer-wise sales point value and quantity for past 3 years, and so on and so forth. He said, listen, as a part of my risk assessment process, these metrics are very critical for me to conduct my planning phase of order to cash activity. Okay. So he said, okay, now help me understand how do I use IT tool. I told him, listen, if these are the metrics that you want to uh, use for your planning activity, then you need to first understand what is the data model that you need to do, which means that what are the different data elements that you will require to actually use an IT enabled tool or IT tool to carry out this particular, to compute these metrics using an IT tool. So we said, all right, let's start documenting a data model. So we came up with this data model, okay, for the metrics that is required. I said, what we require is essentially a sales invoice data for the past 3 years with, say, following 7 columns. And if you have these 7 columns for past 3 years, we will be essentially be able to compute all the metrics for our risk assessment. But before that, I just checked with him to try to understand that, can you give me an understanding about the volume of the data? So he said the total number of records will not be more than a million, right? Now you can see here that the number is not exactly a million. It is 1048576, and that I have written purposefully. Because if you are going to use Excel, okay, there is a row limitation. You will not be able to process and analyze records in excess of this particular stated number per sheet. So you need to be very conscious about the fact when that the volume of the data has got a great implication when you are making a choice of the IT tool. So after having understood this particular scenario, I told my friend that, listen, with this scenario, I think Excel works great. You don't need to think about Python. You don't need to think about Power BI. Excel is great to help you and compute these metrics and also do the visualization of the metrics. He looked at this particular chart for a minute and then he was kind of relieved and said, why the hell I was thinking that I cannot use IT tools in my internal? I said, this is what it is. When we hear a lot of things about IT tools, IT technologies. We Our thoughts go to artificial intelligence. Our thoughts go to some other esoteric technologies, but that's not really required to start with. Okay. Let's first start with the basics. There is an Excel tool which is available, and it is an excellent tool, I can say. Everybody knows that. We use Excel in and out. It has got thousands and thousands of functions which can be used innovatively. to actually conduct data analysis. Of course, it has got certain limitations, but if this is the scenario where the total number of records are not very high, then actually, in my opinion, the most suitable IT tool for this scenario is Excel. And we can actually implement IT tools in internal audit. So he was quite relieved after seeing that, but then he said, I've got another client who has got fair bit of business and large number of rows. I said, okay. And he said, if I want to use in a IT tool in that particular scenario, similarly for risk assessment only and for the same kind of metrics, what do I do? So we again went back to the drawing board. Okay. And he told me that his turnover is 100 crores. And that particular organization sells over 50 products. I said, wow, that's a complex kind of data which we may have to handle. Again, the metrics for risk assessment were same as what we did in the for the first scenario, and the data model was also not different because the metrics were same. But the challenge was the number of records. 1 crore records per year. That is what he told me. I said, all right. Now, 1 crore records, I've got a limitation of 10 lakhs for my Excel. What do I do? I told him that, listen, in Excel, there is something called as Power Query, where there is no row limitations. Okay. You can use Power Query in Excel for this kind of scenario. And it's fairly cost effective having Excel, right? So you're actually even in scenario 2, you're not moving beyond Excel, right? So then we said, all right, for computing and visualization the metrics, we can actually use Excel Power Query. But for that, you need to do a little bit of study about what is that Power Query. You need to have a little bit better understanding of the concepts of tables, the concepts of entity relationships, the concept of building a data model, the concepts of how to import data, how to clean the data, how to build a data model uh, in Power Query, and then query that particular data set. There is some learning involved, but it is not very difficult once you understand it. And there are a lot of videos available for that. There is an entire help menu available for that, and one can actually easily master it. And the front end is still Excel, so that's the biggest advantage. So he said, all right, great. So he said, I still don't have to go beyond Excel. I said, yes, you don't have to still go beyond Excel. But many a times what happens is when I use Excel Power Query and I don't have a very powerful hardware, uh, it kind of, the computer freezes. Okay. So I told him that if you don't have a very powerful hardware, just about 8 MB RAM or something like that, then it's better that you think about investing in hardware. You think about also purchasing a license of CAD tools. One of the better CAD tools which are available in the market is IDEA and ACL. And I told him, I believe ICAI has got some contract with IDEA software dealer, and you can get the licenses at a lower cost than the market value. So it could be a great deal. And the front end of IDEA is more or less like Excel, and it is absolutely a software built for the auditors, both these, ACL and IDEA. So it could be worthwhile to actually buy a new hardware and also invest in some capability building in terms of using this particular software. Excel Power Query is good, but the better option is using CAD tools like IDEA and ACL. So he said, all right. He was getting more and more convinced, and I was trying to help him, right? And he actually started realizing that using IT tools in internal audit did not sound to be a very big deal, right? He said that, Sanjay, as we are discussing these particular scenarios, I realized that I actually need to do a prioritization. I need to prioritize usage of IT tools over the my current approach of auditing around computer, and I will be still be able to achieve that using IT tools. I said exactly that's my point, and that's the reason that why we were actually debating and discussing this particular issue. And then he said that, Sanjay, listen, I might get one more client, you know, and that particular client is very large. It has got an independent directors on the audit committee. It is a listed organization, and the expectations there are very high, right? So the scenario is slightly different. So I said, help me understand what does it look like? So we started building the third scenario. Okay. In my third scenario, my name of the company remains the same, ABC Limited. His audit project also remains the same, so order to cash. But the turnover of this company is, say, 1,000 crores, and it is selling more than 500 products, which means, really speaking, this particular scenario is very completely different from the first two scenarios. Now, the challenge is again, what do I do? How do I respond to this particular scenario? What kind of IT tools are available? Can I still use Excel or Power Query or CAT tools? No. So we said, let's examine this first of all. So we again went back to the drawing board, so to say, made a list of our metrics for risk assessments for order to cash. We built our data model, right? And we also tried to understand the volume. Now the total number of records were 10 crore per year. I said, wow, that's really big, right? So I told him that, listen, for managing these kind of records, you really need to invest in a very good hardware, all right? You need to have a minimum 16 GB RAM wala computer. Uske niche chalega nahi. And also i7-9 Intel chip, which is better at power management, right? So that's the requirement of the hardware, right? So he said, all right, let me invest. But because, see, if I get this client, it will be a great honor indeed. And there is no problem in investing in this particular area if I have to get this particular client. So, but then here we again came back to the software decision. Okay, so he said, let's now try to understand what kind of softwares are available. So I said that possible IT tools for this kind of scenario could be IDEA and ASIL, which can be used even for a large number of records. By the way, Power Query can also be used for such kind of large records. But sometimes the performance degrades as the number of rows go, as the data model becomes complex, right? Then I said that there is something called as Python with pandas, which is a high-level programming tool which you can use to actually do a complete data analysis. And it is exceptionally fast because it is something based on in-memory processing kind of thing. Then naturally, an organization having 1,000 crore turnover with 500 products will be having an ERP, maybe Oracle, maybe SAP or something else. So you may also have an opportunity to use SQL to extract data from these databases and analyze the data. So that is another option that you can think of. And for these kind of organizations, when you want to do the presentations of your audit reports or interpret the data which you have extracted, you can actually use visualization tools like Power BI and Tableau. So this is something which is quite easily available for this. Of course, the investment and the cost associated will be high, and also the need to understand the database structure, the concepts, etc., will also be on a higher side. But the point is, and also there is another tool called as Ultrix, which is also available for usage. It is a tool which is based, it is graphical user interface, so you don't have to learn a lot of coding. It is no code or low code kind of data analytics platform, so to say, and it is quite powerful. These were the scenarios we were kind of building with him. And at the end of the day, to be honest, I mean, at the end of the conversation, he was quite convinced, and he said, "Listen, uh, the outcome of the debate that we were having today was really enlightening, and he was now in my camp of auditing through the computer rather than auditing around the computer." And he realized that if you think hard about it and prioritize it as a part, then it is quite achievable and at a fairly effective cost range as well. Not necessary that every time you have to look at Power BI or Python. You can use Excel also and Power Query also. So if you see all this at the end of the discussions that we said that prioritization is the key, but also it is very important for all of us to understand. And I was speaking to my friend also that, listen, this is a journey. You will not be able to jump directly to Python, right? You need to start with Excel. You need to learn a Power Query, which are the basic building blocks for understanding databases, database structures, the relationship model, the entity relationship, how it works, how the ERP databases are structured in different tables. And there is ample data, literature available to learn all this. But you need to invest, you need to prioritize that, and it's a journey of at least 3 years to 4 years, and one can reach a particular stage where you will be very comfortable using high-level programming languages like Python and SQL, rather than just Excel. So he said that, listen, learning is the only constant as far as CA professional is concerned. I can't really stop learning. So I will prioritize this, I will invest this, and that is how we actually ended up and the our conversation. And I will also bring my session to close with this particular slide, and I would be very happy to hear your views and hear your questions. And I will be also very happy to answer to the extent I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. So can we start with the questions, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Sir, there are not much questions. There is only one question, which is that how much AI helps to conduct the internal audit?
I was expecting that question. Honestly speaking, I have got no great deal of knowledge and understanding about how artificial intelligence works. I have got only a very high level understanding, and it's not really helpful. As a chartered accountant, I'm not really thinking about AI. I'm honestly speaking thinking about Excel, Power Query, SQL, Python. Beyond that, I have still not gone. So I'm really sorry. I will not be able to answer that question.
Okay, sir. So we don't have any other questions, I guess. But there is one more question. Wait a minute. Sir, the question is how to start with learning Python with regard finance or accounting, etc.
I think the institute has got a course on Python, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be a good start where you get where the learning is in a structured manner and a structured form. Uh, Python itself will not help you because Python is just the base level programming language. Along with Python, you have different kinds of packages which are catered to specific needs. So, for example, data analysis, which is the key, which is being used in for finance, is there is a package called as pandas. So, Python pandas as a combination, that is what one needs to learn. If you are doing something around engineering, statistics, etc., so there is another package called as SkyPy, where you can the specific programs are there, functions are there. That is, in my opinion, the best way to learn is to enroll yourself in the course of the Institute on Python programming, and there are wonderful videos and also certain free courses or not very costly courses available on Udemy and these kind of platforms as well. So you can do that. I learned it through videos, I learned it through reading books and actually trying to do it. That's how it is.
Oh, okay, sir. The next we have is, what is the best source to learn Excel Power Query?
Help menu. And there is a big, thick book on Microsoft Excel. Please invest in that. You will get it online. And it will help you to, it explains everything in terms of what functions, the scenarios in functions, and just look at help menu if you don't understand. That's simple.
Yeah. And next question we have is, mostly data is not organized in a way that data analytics can be used. So how does one tackle this problem?
See, I'm sure you must have seen Power BI presentations, right? You see all those fancy charts and so on and so forth. Now, trust me, to build that particular chart, it takes hardly any time. But 90% of the time goes in data wrangling. That is what you call, which is cleaning the data, which is also called as organizing the data. So it takes a lot of efforts, and there are various tools uh, available. Python is also another tool. SQL is also another tool whereby you can understand from which table. And also, it is very essential for you to get a little bit deeper understanding in terms of the availability of the data. If in certain scenarios the data is available, then you can use it. If it is not available, then you cannot use it. And you have to put some efforts to actually build a data model. Like I tried to explain in the scenarios, that we wanted to do, say, 6 types of metrics for risk assessment. So basis that, we decided that what should be my data model. So it's not something that it is something that needs the data model needs to be built every time for a specific objective or a specific risk metrics that you want to do. It's not easy, but it is not insurmountable. That's, and a lot of efforts go in it. A lot of efforts have to be put in it.
Okay, sir. Sir, next question is, which CAT tool will work best for dealing with SAP?
Both the tools that I mentioned, ACL and IDEA, which are the market leaders, they have got a connector which can help you to connect directly with SAP databases. So both are equally good. That is how I'd say. But having a connector and connecting it to SAP is not the end. It's just the start. You need to understand the table structures under that SAP, and then only you will be able to do justice and be able to get value out of the CAT tools. But both the tools are good. They have got specific SAP connectors.
Okay, sir. And sir, next question is, how do you ensure audit tools are scalable and can be deployed across audits, client categories, or industries?
See, as I was trying to explain, you saw there were three scenarios, and in each of these scenarios, we had to pick a different tool precisely for scalability, precisely to handle the volume. So there is no one solution which will fit all types of sectors or all types of manufacturing. One has to study the data model, one has to study the infrastructure at a particular client's place, what kind of system it is there, what kind of access they are ready to provide. And basis that decision only, you can take a decision as to which IT tool I can use and to what extent I can scale it. There is no single solution. It could be different solution for different clients.
Oh, okay, sir. The next question is, that someone is saying that I'm new to idea, so by how much time I can be good at it to use it? Like we use Tally, and should I go to idea as I'm on early stages, or you would recommend any other tool?
There is hardly any other tool. If you are thinking of a CAT tool, there are only possible two choices available. These are the two market leaders which are available in India, ACL and IDEA. Uh, how much time it will take you? Well, it depends upon you as an individual, how much efforts you are ready to put in, how much time you are ready to invest in, right? So there is no specific time frame as such, but once you decide to prioritize it and invest it, then it is fairly easy to learn. The front end is very similar to Excel, and there are training sessions which are organized by the dealer of Idea in India. So you can think of attending those sessions, and the help of that particular tool is also exceptionally detailed and comprehensive, from which you can learn. The most important part for you to consider when you are learning any this particular tool or idea, or be it ACL, is that you need to have a sample data to actually experiment. If you try to learn only the theory part of it, then it will be very difficult for you to appreciate the tool and the capabilities of the tool, and then your learning will not be foolproof. You need to actually take a example, in a sense that if suppose you have got some data from the client, you take that data and use it as a experiment through which you can actually learn different functions of idea. That's the best way to learn, and that's how I would recommend.
Okay, sir. Sir, next question is, other than risk assessment, and what for Excel tool can be used in internal audit?
Other than risk assessment, yeah, you know VLOOKUP, you know HLOOKUP, they're exceptional. You can use it for classifying data, summarization. You can use it. You can might as well use Excel for sampling. There are some mechanisms or functions by which you can generate samples. So if you look at your audit tests on, say, one side, and look at the different functions and try to correlate different functions to the possible use cases that you have. Your audit test is a use case. You can do that quite well. In fact, for your presentation, like if, for example, you want to, when you're writing an audit report, you want to create some charts or something like that, Excel can be used for that as well, using the data, available data. So there are quite, it can be used quite widely, but it all depends upon uh, what are your audit tests, and for each of the audit tests, if you map, okay, for this audit test, I can use this function. For this audit test, I can use this function. That would be much easier for you to understand and evaluate the ability of Excel to help you in various activities in internal audit.
Okay, sir. The next question is, this is related to internal audit process. Someone wants to know that how do we audit the production process?
Production process. Oops. I, I really don't know how to answer this question because this question, to be very honest, is quite wide and vague. Uh, I will not be able to give justice to this particular question.
Okay, sir. Hmm. Uh, Next question is, sir, how easy or difficult is it to share or submit dashboard or other reports to clients, like in the non-print format?
It's quite simple. The tools which are available, I am assuming that when you are using the term dashboard, you are thinking about dashboards generated in, say, Power BI or Tableau, right? That's my assumption. Um, or some other dashboarding tools also. So each and every dashboard tool has got a mechanism whereby you can share your dashboard to multiple people. And it is fairly straightforward and fairly easy as well.
Then, sir, there are some general questions like, what are the major challenges faced while conducting internal audit in modern era, or how Tally is useful in internal audit?
Okay. So on the first question as to what are the key challenges while doing internal audit in the modern era, which means in the IT enabled world, I say that the first challenge is that visibility of audit evidence is very difficult nowadays. We hardly get any paper trail for us to see, visualize, and audit. Say, for example, your approval process, if it is in digital form, then it becomes very difficult. That is one of the most significant challenges that an internal audit today is facing, and essentially because of the way the workflow of any organization has been digitized, uh, and therefore the need to understand the IT tools, and also the volume and the velocity of the transaction. Say, for example, in an FMCG organization or a retail industry, just imagine the number of transactions which are happening. Uh, I mean, say for example, for 100 crore revenue, if the average order size is around 1200, you can just extrapolate and imagine the number of individual sales transactions which might have occurred. So, I mean, the volume itself is so large, and our ability to be able to give assurance to the stakeholders that everything, my control environment is working fine, my controls design are fine, and they are working effectively, is really, really getting hampered because of all this. And therefore, again, the need to use comprehensively and learn the IT tools and understand how to actually use them in internal audit to enhance our assurance level. I think that's the key, given the context of this particular session. There are other challenges as well, but I would like to restrict myself to the topic today. And what was the next question? Could you please repeat?
Yes, sir. How Tally is useful in internal audit?
See, Tally per se is not an IT is not a IT tool useful for internal audit. Tally is essentially a tool which helps you to record your transactions, right? But what is important is that how you use the data which goes into Tally. Now, Tally has got something called as Tally data language, TDL. Now, if you go to the Tally website, you will see that uh, it has got a proprietary programming language. You cannot use our normal SQLs, etc., because the Tally database is not a relational database model. The Tally database is a hierarchical database model. Uh, and to extract data from Tally and then use it for your audit, that is how you should look at it, rather than considering Tally as a tool for audit. Okay. But extracting data from Tally is a challenge in two ways. One is you can either simply rely on the reports and just take the dump of the data by way of reports, or you can actually learn Tally data language and extract the data from the databases and then create a data model for internal audit. Now, that is also quite feasible.
Okay, sir. So there is one more question that
Sure.
how do we audit the production process with the help of Excel Power Query?
That's a better question. Thank you. Rather than the question of production process. See, uh, how do I answer this? Let me give an example. Let me assume that the entire production process is configured in SAP, right? So when I mean it is configured in, say, SAP or Oracle, what it means is that uh, all the input material has been defined for a particular product. Okay, so you have got, say, you are manufacturing this particular glass, right? Now, for manufacturing this particular glass, what is important is that you need to have a bill of material. You need to know what is the material that you require. So bill of material is one of the data elements when you are considering auditing a production process. The second thing is there are stages in a production process, which are typically called as routings, which means that there is stage one of the production process, stage two of the production process, and stage three of production process. And each of these particular at each of these particular stages, some overheads are loaded. Production overheads are loaded at each this particular stage. So production overheads is another data element that you need to be considering. Now you have got a standard bill of material, and then you have got material which is issued by stores, which is the actual stores, right? So that is another data element that is coming into play. Now, if you want to audit a production process, one of the most important thing is input output ratio, which means you are going to compare the standard bill of material quantity as compared with the actual material. So to do this in Power Query, you actually require two tables. One table which will tell you the bill of material for that particular product, which is the standard, and another table, okay, or another Excel sheet, if I may use the term instead of to use the term, which will tell you that for this particular product, how much is the actual quantity which is used. And then you can relate these two particular tables to understand the variance as compared to the standard. So you can create a data model whereby there is one table called giving you information of BOM, another table giving information about issues, and using both these, you can create a data model and query that particular data with Power Query.
Okay, sir. So now someone wants to ask about that. How can we use how can we use functions in Excel for selecting samples in internal audit?
I don't exactly recall, but there is some function. Uh, Let me check if I can quickly look at my. Yes, there is some function where you can come up with this. I don't recall readily. I have used it extensively in my younger days, and I no longer use Excel for analytics. I use only Python, so I have completely forgotten about Excel specific functions. So Let me check. We can go to the next question if there is any. In the meanwhile, if I can figure it out and get the answer for it.
Okay, sir.
You can use Chat GPT. Yeah, that's another AI useful for internal audit.
Yes.
You ask this question to Chat GPT, you will get a reason, get a good answer.
Yes.
I did not think of it.
Okay, sir. Next question is that in an organization where there are multiple branches or subsidiaries, as the data is huge, what should be considered while analyzing the data and creating the data models before starting the audit?
See, what needs to be considered, which will really be dependent upon and driven by what you want to do and what you want to achieve. As we saw in our example, which was a very simple example, if I want to use the audit tool or rather IT tool for my, say, risk assessment, then I need to be very clear as to what are the things that I want to see, like comparative analysis. And that itself will provide you an answer as to what is the kind of data that you will be requiring. And it will help you to also understand how to get this data from different subsidiaries, different entities for, as far as your organization is concerned.
Okay, sir. The next question is how can we upgrade ourselves with different and innovative analytics that may provide opportunities to avoid financial losses and also to provide value addition to the management? So basically, she wants to know about is there any course available which will provide the list of analytics that can be used across various functions like procurement, production, sales, marketing, etc.
Yes, there are courses on Udemy, etc. These platforms. There are multiple courses which are available, which are focused on specific area like say supply chain, production, marketing, and so on and so forth. There are multiple what should I say courses available. Even if I am not mistaken, our Institute of IIM also has got some courses for these kind of specializations. So yes, there are specific courses available.
And sir, someone wants to like have the elaboration of various tools you mentioned in the PPT. So they wants to have an overview of those tools.
Wow, that will take another session, to be honest. I can't really be, I will not be able to justice in terms of explaining those specific tools. You really require some good examples whereby you can actually appreciate these particular tools. So maybe in the next session, I can give you an overview of those.
Yes, sir. So I think that's all for the questions.
Okay, I'm just using Chat GPT to get the answer.
Okay.
So in Excel, you can use the answer which is given to me by Chat GPT. So be careful. In Excel, you can use the rand function to generate random numbers and then use those numbers for sampling purposes. If you want to randomly select a sample from a range, you might combine the rand with a function like index and rank. For example, you could use index and match together to retrieve values based on randomly generated numbers. So rand is the function, and Chat GPT saved me. That's how I can say. So whosoever was asking about using AI in internal audit, well, this is one use case. If somebody asks me questions like this, I can use ChatGPT. I honestly enjoyed the questions. Uh, they were very, I mean, I could sense from the question that each one of us is very curious. And I think that's very critical, and that's the first step in our journey when we think of using IT tools. So I would recommend that stay curious and be curious. You are on mute, Seema.
Sorry, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
So, sir, shall I conclude the session?
Yeah, sure, no problem. If that's the end of the question session, no problem.
Yeah, there are no more questions, sir.
All right.
So I'd like to conclude the session now. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude this insightful webinar conducted by the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting of the ICAI, I extend my sincere gratitude to our esteemed speaker, participants, and the organizing team for their invaluable contributions. And special thanks to Sanjay sir for sharing his expertise on practical aspects of IT tools and internal audit. Your insights have enriched our understanding, and I would like to express gratitude to the Board of Internal Audit and Management Accounting of the ICAI for their continuous efforts in promoting knowledge and excellence in the field. And thanks to all the attendees for your active participation and engaging questions. And a heartfelt thank you to our technical team and everyone behind the scenes who worked tirelessly to ensure the smooth execution of this webinar. And let's carry forward the knowledge gained today in our professional journeys. We look forward to welcoming you in the future ICI events. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.